Now you face the next 10 years, a blank canvas. This block of time can be wasted just like the last, or utilized like never before. The crucial takeaway is this: you are in control. You have the power to decide, to craft your narrative, and to shape your future direction. Today is a singular opportunity, not a dress rehearsal. You can't rewind this week or undo the past 5 years. However, you hold the power of the next 10 years. What you do with this time will define everything. Your earnings, where you live, your professional title, and most importantly, who you become. These next 10 years will shape your leadership, the legacy you leave, and the story you write. A decade may seem distant, but it passes quickly. Before you know it, you could find yourself realizing a decade has slipped away, consumed by distractions, hesitation, procrastination, excuses, and waiting for the right time, clarity, motivation, or perfect conditions that never arrived. They just need you to be consistent. They need you to raise your standards, to lock in new habits, to build structure, to eliminate distraction, to stop starting over and start following through. Because if you can do that, if you can start showing up differently one day at a time, you will change the next 10 years, and the change will be so deep, so real, so obvious that people won't recognize the person you've become. You created on purpose. But you can't fix 10 years in 10 days. That's the mistake most people make. They overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a decade. They burn themselves out trying to make everything better overnight. But the next 10 years don't need you to be perfect. You get to choose whether you look back on this decade with regret or with pride. Because 10 years doesn't change by accident. It changes by design, by intention, by decision. You don't drift into greatness, you don't stumble into clarity. You don't luck your way into a life you're proud of. You build it, you earn it, to truly transform the next decade of your life. The journey must begin immediately, not postponed to a later date, but now. Now is the pivotal moment, the only time you possess the ability to lead, to act, and to influence the future. Your next 10 years await your direction. Your present circumstances are not accidental. They are a direct result of your choices, your focus or lack thereof, and your discipline or lack thereof. While this truth might be challenging to confront, it is also incredibly empowering. If your life has been sculpted by your habits, then it possesses the inherent capacity to be reshaped by new ones. If your path was written by your past decisions, you can write a new path starting with the next one, but only if you stop playing the victim. The initial and crucial step in shaping your future is to embrace full responsibility for the past 10 years. This isn't about assigning blame, indulging in guilt, or feeling shame. It's about authentic, unreserved ownership. No real change can occur until you acknowledge and accept what you have created, whether intentionally or not. Every choice you've made, every action you've taken, every habit you've reinforced, and every standard you've accepted has quietly and incrementally shaped the life you are living today. Only if you stop playing figures. Only if you stop telling yourself a story that puts the power in someone else's hands, because as long as you believe that your circumstances are stronger than your decisions, you'll stay stuck. You have to say, this is on me. Not because you're broken, not because you failed, but because you are the one with the pen in your hand. You are the one who decides what happens next. And the moment you take that ownership, the excuses start to die, the blame starts to dissolve, and all that's left is potential. The most dangerous thing in the world is potential with no action. People carry potential for decades and never use it. They know they're capable. Many people are aware they could achieve more, do more, be more, earn more, build more, yet they fail to act. The longer they delay, the more difficult it becomes to initiate change. The burden of inaction accumulates, much like habits and progress. If you're not careful, this weight can gradually overwhelm you, not suddenly, but subtly, year by year. Eventually, you might awaken one day wondering where the time has gone, how it slipped away, and if you still have enough time to turn things around. Forget vague dreams or blurry wishes. Focus on clear outcomes, specific goals, and tangible milestones. The clearer your target, the more direct your path will be. Consider your health. What will it look like in 10 years? How will your body feel when you wake up? What will your daily energy levels be like? What habits will be firmly established and unbreakable? What standards are non-negotiable? The good news is, you always do have time, provided you start now. Stop dwelling on the past and begin building for the future. Decide that everything that happened before this moment is over, and what happens next is entirely up to you. This means gaining absolute clarity, brutally clear, about what you want your life to be like a decade from now. What do your relationships look like 10 years from now? Who have you strengthened ties with? Who did you let go of? What conversations did you finally have? What boundaries did you enforce? What kind of partner, parent, leader, or friend did you become? What does your mindset look like 10 years from now? What does your financial life look like 10 years from now? What does your income look like? What does your savings look like? Your investments? What skills did you master? What business did you build? What risk did you finally stop avoiding? What fears no longer control you? What beliefs did you rewrite? What narratives did you destroy? What new identity did you build? What version of you is now normal? That used to feel impossible. You have to see it. You have to feel it. You have to want it so deeply that no excuse, no distraction, no setback can pull you off course, because when the vision is vague, the effort is weak. But when the vision is strong, your actions follow. You write it down, not once every day, until it becomes real in your mind, until it becomes a standard you live by, not a dream. You visit once a year because a written vision becomes a compass. And without that compass, you'll drift. You'll get pulled by what's urgent instead of what's important. But clarity isn't enough. You need structure, a plan, a framework, a process. Not because the plan will be perfect, it won't be. But because without structure, your emotions will run the show. Your energy will fluctuate. Your motivation will fade. But structure keeps you anchored. You break it down. What needs to happen this year to move toward that 10-year vision? What needs to happen this quarter, this month, this week? Today, you reverse engineer the future. And then you put it on paper on your calendar and your daily habits, so that every day you're not just trying, you're executing. You create habits that serve the vision, routines that make excellence automatic. To shape your next decade, prioritize consistency over occasional effort. Eliminate recurring decisions by establishing rituals. This isn't about perfection, but about daily habits, as your future is forged by what you do routinely, not what you do sporadically. Life transformation comes from repetition, not intensity. You'll face challenges. The world will vie for your attention. People will misinterpret your dedication, and your past self will attempt to reassert itself. However, if your vision is anchored, your structure built, and your standards elevated, you will be unstoppable. If you're serious about shaping your next 10 years, you must redefine your relationship with time. It's not merely about how you use it, but how you perceive it. Time isn't to be managed. It's to be honored, protected, and invested intentionally, strategically, and unapologetically. You track it, you write it down, you look at it on paper, you see how much time you spend working on your goals versus avoiding them. You measure the hours you invest in your health, in your relationships, in your growth, and when you see the gap, because there will be a gap, you don't get discouraged, you get focused, you build a better plan. You cannot afford to treat your time casually. That's how most people live. They waste it like it's renewable, like they'll get more of it tomorrow. But you won't. You'll get different time, and the version of you that shows up for it will be shaped by what you're doing right now. You can't buy more time, you can't borrow it, you can't earn it back. And yet people spend hours watching TV, gossiping, postponing, and they call it relaxing. But it's not relaxing if it's robbing you of the life you want to build. So if you want to change the next decade, you start by asking, where is my time actually going? Not where you think it's going, where it's really going. Because clarity without accountability is delusion. That plan starts with priorities. Because not everything matters equally. Not every task deserves your attention. Not every demand needs your energy. If you treat everything like it's urgent, you'll never do anything important. So you identify your top goals, the ones that if achieved would make everything else easier or irrelevant, and you protect time for them like your life depends on it, because it does. Structure your schedule around your priorities, not the other way around. Don't relegate your most important work to leftover hours. Begin with the significant, non-negotiable blocks, your rituals, your building time, your future-focused activities. Then, be ruthless in eliminating distractions, interruptions, and urgent-feeling tasks that don't advance your goals. You don't have to say yes to everything. Don't apologize for safeguarding your time or feel guilty for prioritizing your future. Those who don't value their own time won't grasp why you value yours. And that's perfectly acceptable. Your purpose isn't to fulfill others' expectations. It's to construct a life that fills you with pride. This life is meticulously built, hour by hour, day by day, and year by year. Integrate structure into your time, focusing on deep work, not just hard work, Prioritize meaningful work over mere busy work. Block out your time to minimize decision fatigue, designing your day so that excellence becomes second nature. Establish a morning routine that sets the tone. Instead of drifting upon waking, take charge, even if it's for just 30 minutes. Incorporate movement, silence, and intention, something that reinforces your identity and purpose. Similarly, cultivate an evening routine that preserves your energy, clears your mind, and allows you to decompress constructively rather than escaping, as how you conclude your day is crucial, is how you prime the next one. You create margin space to think, space to breathe, space to reflect, because your best ideas don't come when you're buried in tasks. They come when your mind is clear. So you don't just schedule work, you schedule recovery. And as you do this, something starts to shift. Time starts working for you. Most people never make. You started treating time like your most valuable asset. You started living like every hour matters. You stopped trading your future for moments of relief. You stopped postponing the hard things. And you started building a structure that makes your goals inevitable. That structure becomes your safety net. When motivation fades, you still follow the plan when life gets chaotic. You still follow the rhythm when your emotions spike. You still trust your system because it's not about how you feel. It's about what you've designed. And over the course of 10 years, that design becomes destiny. Not because every day is perfect, not because you never slip, but because you always return to your anchor. Not against you. You stop rushing, you stop reacting, you stop living in chaos, you start building momentum, you start feeling progress, you start trusting your process, and other people will notice. They'll see your discipline, your pace, your consistency, and they'll ask how you're doing it. They won't understand it first, but you will because you made the shift. To improve your next decade, don't just react, proactively design it. Your relationship with time is key. Decide daily if it's your enemy or your ally. Fixing your next 10 years means raising your standards, not just setting goals. Goals are where you aspire to go, but standards are what you refuse to tolerate. Until you elevate the baseline of your life, reaching higher levels will remain elusive. Success isn't born from higher goals, but from an unwavering refusal to accept anything less than continuous progress. It means drawing a clear boundary and declaring, this is no longer acceptable. Today is the last day I will live at this level. You don't rely on willpower, you rely on your habits. Many attempt to achieve more without transforming themselves internally. They build a mansion on shaky ground. You cannot sustain a better life with old habits, poor follow-through, and a consistent pattern of excuses. You must become someone who demands more from themselves, not occasionally, but every single day. Your true standards aren't what you publicize, what you claim to believe, or what you write on a vision board. Your standards are defined by what you tolerate, what you accept from yourself, and what you settle for when no one is watching. And if you're honest, you already know the answer. You know what you've been accepting. That's keeping you average. You know what you keep saying, you'll change. That always gets pushed to next week. You know what behaviors keep pulling you down, and the stories you keep telling yourself to justify them. The second it gets uncomfortable, you start there with the lowest hanging fruit. The habit that's been stealing your confidence, the action that's been killing your momentum. And you draw a new line, not in theory, not when it's convenient now, and you replace it with something better, a new habit, a new behavior, a new standard that feels uncomfortable. But the next 10 years don't care about your story. They don't care about your reasons. They will be shaped by your standard or by your excuses. And the difference between those two is the moment you say, that's it, I'm done tolerating this for myself. That might be the way you show up late to your own commitments, the way you hit snooze, the way you let people treat you, the way you talk to yourself when you fail, the way you negotiate with your goals. Because it's higher, because it requires more, because it forces you to stretch, and then you live at that level until it becomes your new baseline. That's how you grow, not by shooting for the stars, but by raising the floor. If your minimum effort is high enough, your results can't help but improve. Because you're not just aiming higher, you're operating from a higher level. And once you've raised one standard, you raise the next and the next. You don't do it all at once. You do it systematically, one piece at a time, like replacing old parts on a machine. You upgrade your inputs, you upgrade your mindset, you upgrade your language, your boundaries, your behaviors. Eventually, the old version of you doesn't even fit your life anymore. The things that used to feel normal start to feel out of place. You start to feel out of place when you act like the old you, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you've changed what you accept. Self-respect and confidence aren't built on positive thinking alone, but on the pride of living in alignment with your new identity. When your habits match your values and your actions match your vision, confidence grows, leading to powerful momentum. You're no longer forcing effort. You're flowing with it, driven by your goals, rather than negotiating with them. This self-powered drive emerges when you refuse to revert to old patterns. Old habits don't fade easily. They linger and test you, especially when you're tired. You must confront yourself and declare, "Not anymore, I am not that person." Many remain stuck because they attempt to improve without confronting their own standards, grow without confronting their excuses, or change without eliminating behaviors that have stifled their progress. But there is no progress without conflict. You have to go to war with who you used to be, with the version of you that chose comfort, that avoided accountability, that made promises and didn't keep them, that lowered the bar. Every time life got hard, you don't hate that version of you, but you don't keep them around either. You bury them with better choices, with new rituals, with the kind of consistency that makes the old life impossible to return to. You earn your new life one day at a time, not with emotion, but with execution, not with inspiration, but with structure, not with willpower, but with discipline built into your schedule. Growth hurts, change hurts, discipline hurts. So does honesty, so does accountability, but so does regret, so does decay, so does mediocrity. If you don't choose one, you inherit the other. Most people spend their whole lives running from pain. They build their habits around avoiding it. They make decisions based on what's most comfortable, not what's most aligned. And when you slip, and you will, you don't fall apart, you return to the standard. You don't spiral, you don't excuse it, you recalibrate. Because this is not about perfection. This is about refusing to live beneath your potential for another year, another month, another day. If you want to fix your next 10 years, you have to fix your relationship with pain, because pain isn't going anywhere. They want to grow without strain. They want transformation without tension. But that's not how it works. You don't grow in ease. You grow in resistance. You grow by choosing the thing that stretches you, the thing that forces you to confront your patterns, the thing that makes you uncomfortable, but better. Pain is information. It tells you where the next breakthrough is hiding. So when it shows up, you don't run. You ask better questions. Why does this bother me? What part of me is being exposed right now? Is this discomfort telling me to quit, or telling me that something valuable is on the other side? And if you want to make the next 10 years count, you must become the kind of person who leans into pain with intention, not recklessly, not to suffer, but to expand. You have to reframe pain as a signal, not a stop sign, a compass, because pain will point to the place where you've stopped growing. It will reveal the habits that no longer fit your life, the conversations you've been avoiding, the truths you haven't faced, the goals you've been procrastinating on. Embrace discomfort strategically. Instead of avoiding pain, build capacity. Because the life you desire demands a stronger you, not less pressure. Pressure, the right kind, hones your mind, body, and spirit, making you sharper, stronger, and more evolved. Living this way cultivates powerful durability and mental toughness. You stop breaking or folding under pressure, developing resilience through early mornings and consistent follow-through, even when no one is watching. Stop negotiating with resistance or waiting for ease. Cultivate habits that propel you toward challenges. Do the reps, make the calls, have the difficult conversations, go to the gym even when exhausted, write even when uninspired. Detach from the need for inspiration or convenience, act from your identity, commitment, and standards, not your fleeting moods, because standards remain constant. You build it. When you choose integrity over image, structure over chaos, principles over popularity. And the more you build it, the more pressure you can carry, the more weight you can move, the more life can throw at you without shaking your core. Because now you're not just hoping to succeed, you're forged for it. It's a rhythm, a way of life. You show up, you do the work, you evolve quietly, relentlessly, without theatrics, because the goal isn't just to fix your life, it's to build a life. You don't need to escape from one that fits your values, one that reflects your effort, one that stretches you and supports you at the same time. That's what the next 10 years demand. Not just vision, not just goals, grit, resilience, adaptability, the willingness to do what most people want. The ability to keep going long after the excitement has worn off. And when you become that person, success starts to feel different. It's not a peak, it's not a single event. And when pain shows up again, and it will, You won't fear it, you'll use it, you'll listen to it, you'll follow it to the edge of your current identity and break through it over and over again because now you know pain. Doesn't mean something's wrong, it means something's growing. If you're going to fix your next 10 years, you have to fix your relationship with truth. Not surface truth, not convenient truth, real truth. Just enough to avoid the mirror, they say. I'm doing my best. When they know they've been distracted, they say I'm trying. When they know they've been avoiding, they say I'll start soon. When they have no real intention of doing anything, and they keep saying it until it becomes their reality. But if you want to rewrite your next 10 years, you must become addicted to truth. The kind that stings, the kind that humbles you, the kind that forces you to confront who you've been so you can become who you're meant to be. Most people aren't failing because they lack knowledge. They're failing because they lie to themselves subtly, quietly, over time. They bend the truth just enough to stay comfortable, just enough to avoid the full weight of their responsibility. You must become obsessed with honesty. You must refuse to lie to yourself no matter how small, no matter how harmless it may seem, because every lie moves you further from your potential. You start with the question, where am I lying to myself? You look at your habits, your results, your attitude, your excuses, and you dig. What stories have you been repeating that make it easier to stay stuck? What patterns are you protecting by avoiding the truth? You don't do this to punish yourself. You do this to free yourself, because nothing changes until the truth is told, until the light is turned on, until the illusion is destroyed. Embracing truth is the bedrock of transformation. When you articulate it, even just to yourself on paper, you unlock a profound level of clarity rarely achieved. You expose what hinders your progress, the chasm between your actions and your values, and the inconsistency between your words and your follow-through. This clarity, though painful, is ultimately productive. It empowers you to rebuild, realign, and take responsibility not for an idealized version of yourself, but for who you authentically are. From this position, anything becomes possible. You cease the pretenses of lacking time, feeling confused, or having exhausted all efforts. Instead, you look yourself in the eye and declare, if I truly wanted to, I'd find a way, and then you proceed to find it. Living in this kind of truth fundamentally shifts your confidence. You begin to trust yourself, not because of perfection, but because of your honesty, your groundedness, and your authenticity. You recognize deep down that your efforts are genuine and sincere. That kind of self-trust is rare, but it's magnetic. It makes you calm under pressure. It makes you clear when others are chaotic. It gives you an edge that can't be taught because it's built from the inside out. The version of you that lives at that level becomes your baseline. And now even on your off days, you're outperforming your old best. Not because you're chasing motivation, but because you've built a new default. But again, this only works if you tell the truth about how you're spending your time, about how you're using your energy, about how seriously you're taking your potential, about how much you're still letting fear decide your behavior. Because fear won't go away. It'll always be there, whispering worst-case scenarios, urging you to shrink, to hesitate to stay safe. But you don't eliminate fear by ignoring it. You eliminate its power by refusing to let it lead, by telling the truth about what you want and what it's going to cost to get it. You build it by doing what you said you would do. You build it by showing up. Even when you've slipped, you build it by refusing to let one bad day become a bad week, one broken promise become a new pattern. You own your slips. You correct them quickly. You get back to your standard, and that standard becomes your anchor. That cost is real. Growth is expensive. It costs comfort. It costs old patterns. It costs relationships that no longer serve your mission. But the price of not growing, the cost of regret that's higher, that lasts longer, that shows up later in places you didn't expect. Your confidence, your peace, your purpose. People who love you enough to say you're capable of more. People who remind you of your standard when you forget. You have to choose the cost you're willing to pay. And once you decide that you're done paying the price of staying the same, you commit to building forward one aligned decision at a time, one honest day at a time, one consistent step at a time, and you surround yourself with truth tellers, people who challenge your story, people who don't let you hide behind effort. Because your next 10 years will not be shaped in isolation. They will be shaped in community, but only if you choose the right one, the one that holds you high, that speaks life into your future, that doesn't let you shrink. And when you live that way, honestly, intentionally surrounded by truth, you build something rare, a life that feels aligned, that's built on real effort, real values, real integrity, and that kind of life holds up through pressure, through storms, through every test the next 10 years will bring. You don't need another decade of starting and stopping, of wondering if you're capable. You already know the answer. You've always been. But now, it's time to stop negotiating with your potential and start living in alignment with it. You've seen what happens when you drift, when you postpone, when you make excuses.